Top 5 importers of Ukrainian sunflower seeds. This is insanely random. In 5th, we have Iraq. In 4th, we have Spain. In 3rd, we have the Netherlands. What a small country to be in this place, but yet they're paying over $500 million for these things. In 2nd, we have China and India with over $1 billion they're spending on these sunflower seeds. The next question is, why do these countries love sunflower seeds so much? Well, I guess this is actually topical because I guess the world is facing a shortfall in sunflower oil. Ukraine is one of the biggest exporters. So basically, if you're a company that has a product that requires sunflower seeds, you're in a lot of trouble. Especially because according to this, Ukraine is responsible for almost half of world sunflower crops. Speaking of conflicts, here's another one, except this one has been going on for, I guess, quite a long time. So countries who support the British versus Argentinian claim to the Falkland Islands. I actually didn't know any of this, so pretty much all of Latin America supports Argentina in this thing. Actually, almost all of the Western Hemisphere, except if you were like a former colony of the British, although there is at least one pretty big outlier. Surprised the US isn't supporting the side on this. Most of the Eastern Hemisphere countries as well support Argentina, except for Turkey, and then a couple of smaller places, the Strait of Gibraltar, the Isle of Man, no big surprise there. Then there's Taiwan, Malaya, Australia, and New Zealand that support the British. This whole thing is a lot more complicated than I thought. I see that whole rivalry from Ireland still holding strong with this issue as well. An updated map for Russia's unfriendly countries list. Unsurprisingly, in 2022, they've been adding a whole lot of new members. So an obvious given, if you're a part of NATO, you definitely gonna join the club. Canada and the USA, also a given. Same for Australia and New Zealand, although Singapore is kind of interesting. Then we have Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan, but it's crazy to see some traditional neutral nations also in there. Switzerland and Sweden, what's going on? Not really surprised that Serbia isn't included, but how did Bosnia not make the list? Also, Turkey? They must have a reason to not add Turkey. They probably want to add Turkey. Didn't even mention that Taiwan finally got recognized here though. Let's just embrace the positives here for a second. Most popular unisex name in each state. Avery seems to be the big one throughout most of the land. It's strange. I'm looking at this map and I'm like, oh, I guess that name is technically unisex. I don't really think about it like that though. I've never met someone named Sawyer in my entire life. But then again, I probably will in like 20 years. I don't know many infants in my everyday life. What's up with this random one in West Virginia? Remington? I guess there's a couple other outliers like Cameron in Massachusetts and Angel in New Mexico. And of course, Alaska and Hawaii gotta be a little different. They can't be like the rest of the lower 48 states. I feel like the unisex names that we might know in our lives are gonna be very different than this map. This is a whole new generation. This isn't even Gen Z. Is this Gen A? Does it start back over like that? I don't even know. What comes after Gen Z? Oh yeah, it does. Generation Alpha. Wait, Generation Alpha can already be at least like 12 years old? At least according to this definition. Oh man, I'm getting old. How countries refer to their fighter aircraft. I guess that's what we would call it in the US. Oh yeah, just fighters. I'm more familiar with that. Not to be confused with bombers. I didn't even know they had other names. Like in most of Europe, it's called Hunter aircraft. So during WW2, France and Germany was just using this whole other term. Was that confusing at all? Greece and Cyprus are the only other ones that call them fighters. Then in Croatia and Albania, they refer to them as military aircraft, which, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that is pretty true to their definition. Then finally, in almost all of Eastern Europe, they're just called destroyers. Like the ship? If you're calling these planes destroyers, then what do you call destroyers? Destroyers. I guess keep in mind, a lot of these countries are not speaking English, so this is all being translated from their native tongue. It might not be a perfect, like, thing here going on. Yeah, but I'm guessing if you're, like, deep into some landlocked country and you say, hey, look out for those destroyers, people probably aren't going to assume the ocean ones. Here's a population density map of South America. And even though I literally kind of stare at maps for a living, I am really surprised at just how many people live in Brazil. I mean, I knew there were a lot, but when you compare them to all the other, like, Spanish-speaking parts of this continent, it's like completely one-sided. Are there more people in this one country than in the combined rest of the countries? There's over 212 million people here. Oh yeah, it's almost exactly half then, if 422 million live in all of South America. That is actually crazy. I never knew that. It looks like literally nobody lives in Argentina either, or at least anywhere south of here. And even though Chile's really long, they're really only in this small strip. A whole lot of Peruvians, Ecuadorians, Colombians, and Venezuelans though. I knew a majority of Brazil's population lived along the coast, but they also go pretty deep into like the Amazon though. I thought like everyone was just like packed in along the beaches, which maybe they still are, but they also have people packed into the jungles as well. I don't think you guys need any more people to come come to Brazil. Speaking of which, Chile, if you didn't know, is a ridiculously long country. This book is basically like that website, True Size of Countries, but it's in paper form. Literally from the southern tip of Portugal all the way above Norway. Like, this is definitely in like the North Pole region. I love that, like, no matter if you're a geography nerd like me or just some random person, everyone has an obsession with how long Chile is. Like, how did this even happen? But also, I'm glad it did. It extends for over 2,500 miles, but it's only like 200 miles across. It's hard to get information on how long it would take you to drive up the thing because of like the mountain ranges, and down at the southern tip, it's a lot of islands. Like, they really want you to cut across Argentina, but something like 55 hours. I'm assuming it's like driving from LA to New York. Actually, not even. That would be way quicker. Americans overestimate the size of minority groups and underestimate the size of most majority groups. So starting off, US population thinks 20% of people that live in this country make over $1 million, which it's actually less than 1%. That's have a household income over $1 million. And in the complete opposite direction, have at least a high school degree. US population think only 65% of us have that, versus in reality over 89% do. I kind of want to play this game. Hold on. Ooh, voted in the 2020 election. In total, it's definitely less than half. Is it like 49%, 48? Oh, I got that wrong. Wow. That was actually the one question that most people got right, and I got it wrong. Most Americans think 32% of people in the entire country live in California, when in reality it's only 12%. Okay, yeah, these overestimations are kind of crazy. Okay, hold on. Let me try it again. Have a household income over 50,000. I'll say 60%? Yeah, I got it right. 62%. This would be a fun game. I want to play the game. I want to be a part of the poll. Shuffle them all up. I want to think I'd do better than these people that were polled, but I don't know. Who owns more wealth, the bottom 80% or the top 1% throughout the world? So in the green countries, the bottom 80 still own more than the top 1, but it seems like most places have the top 1%. And keep in mind, some of these places have the most population: China, India, and the USA. Even though there's a ton of people living in those countries, top 1% still make more than the bottom 80. Then it gets even crazier when you include just the top 0.1%. There are still several orange countries left on the map, like the USA. Then there's Brazil and the southern part of Africa. Russia, of course, in the Arabian Peninsula. Here's the same map, but only the top 0.01%. Okay, now the US is in the green, but Mexico and Brazil, even Chile, included in the Western Hemisphere, South Africa, Thailand, and Russia. Finally, the top 0.001%. This has got to be like 100 people max. So like 100 dudes in Russia own more than the bottom 80, which I think we've been learning a lot about the oligarchs recently. The other ones included South Africa, Brazil, and Chile as well. I would have assumed all these countries would have been green if you polled me beforehand. Would have got that wrong too. Top 5% though, like no decimals, just top 5 richest people own more than the bottom 80, like throughout the entire world. I don't think there's a single green country on the map. Here's a pie chart showing Warren Buffett's portfolio from the 90s all the way till today. So he had a lot of other. What is this other? Over a quarter of his portfolio was other. He had a lot of stocks in Coca-Cola and then cash. What does that mean? He just had cash on hand, or is he invested somehow? I don't know much about investing, so maybe I shouldn't say anything. Cash was his big thing, and then let's see what happens when in the 2008 financial thing. What does he do here? How does he shift in 2008 to 2009? Oh, things actually go down for him a lot. Things start to shift back up in 2010. A lot in Wells Fargo, IBM. He's really liking IBM. Others also going way down. Now he's back on making a lot of money in 2015. Wells Fargo is his biggest thing. Oh, there you go, Apple. That's really late in the game. You would think that well, I don't know. But him being so rich, you'd think he would have like invested this much into Apple a long time ago. 36% of his portfolio is in Apple now. I should get me some more cash. How do you invest in that? How do you get more cash? About 1 year ago, the Evergreen Ship got stuck in the canal and caused this massive backlog. And here you can see a huge time lapse of how crazy that was. How annoying was that? I know that it was like a funny meme for a second, but look at how bad this really got. So they finally like got the ship unstuck, but for like a while there, I remember like things just slightly going up in cost, all because one ship got stuck. We should have just blown it up. The day it got stuck, just put a bunch of dynamite, blow it up. I realized why that'd be a horrible idea, but I think it'd also be kind of funny to fix it like that. What's even more hilarious is that there is another Evergreen ship that got stuck somewhere, this time in the Chesapeake Bay. It's already been stuck for a week apparently. Luckily, it's not a canal where like everyone has to go through, right? Yo, who is driving these ships? I'm just really confused. How does this keep happening? Which European language am I reading? And you can kind of get all of this information by only looking at a few letters. You start here. If you see BGRV, you can kind of go left from there. If you don't see any of those things, you're going to be probably in Eastern Europe. No one's going to believe me, but I swear if I would have seen these characters, I would have assumed Greece. And then you have to actually be a little bit more specific. There's two different types of Greek. I don't think I've ever seen like these cartoon fingers in my life before, but it's very likely that they're going to be like some type of Georgian. Maybe I should have been more specific. You do need a little bit more than just a few letters. Interesting that the I character is included with Belarusian and Ukrainian languages. Some of these flags are getting so rare, even I can barely recognize them. I like how this guide can show you the flag that you're likely reading, but even from that symbol, I wouldn't be able to identify, okay, what is this? These are some really unique languages, although this guide, that makes the guide even cooler. You have to go through all of this to finally figure out, oh yeah, I'm speaking Russian. I feel like this should be weighted a bit. Like, what are the chances that you're going to be speaking Sami compared to, you know, Russian with over like 144 million people? I love how there's so many different dialects but the same symbol too. Okay, but if there is a B, G, R, and V, then it's going to be a bit more recognizable. Safe to say if there is no A with the two hats, no CH, no E, you can figure out like Baltic countries this way. I want to put this to the test. I need to like find a random book. Is there an online generator just to show me a random language? Oh, this is where that B meme comes from. B is the ultimate way to find out German. But if it doesn't have the B and it has the two U's with the two dots, could be Swiss as well. Of course, this O with the cross through it just screams Nordic. So there's Iceland there. Oh, look, there's an upside down mirrored E in this Azerbaijan. Welsh has a W with a pointer on top. This is literally some of the first time I've ever seen a lot of these characters before. I don't review over the way all these different languages are written usually. So I'm kind of just in shock. Now, if I could just retain 1% of this information, I'd be happy.
And big thanks to my Patreon supporters.
Young Waifu,
Fat Nuts,
Gerbil Boy,
Why Am I Doing This,
Sussy Melody,
RyeThePie,
Nora the Bald Free Smiley
Philipp
Lover,
RF,
Orton 5610,
Drew's Argentinian
Alex Whitley is
Grandpa,
Mega Chad,
Alfonso M6,
aPhatNarwhal,
AryanAfterHours,
Bring Back
W,
Canadian
Union,
istoledrewspetdog,
Louise,
LuxembourgLover,
Majestic Unicorn,
Max Cooper,
McBlorf,
and
Mimoshiki.